welcome. My name is Veronica Leonard and I use she, her pronouns. Today I am super excited for the chance to interview Suraya Hudson, the Director of Operations at Leftovers, a nonprofit organization that helps divert food waste across the province and even as far as in Manitoba. A little background on myself. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Alberta, currently wrapping up my Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science with a major in Economics and Policy. As part of my certificate in sustainability, I have the opportunity to run a research project of my choosing, and I am so excited that I get to learn more about and promote the Leftovers Foundation. I've been a volunteer with Leftovers for over a year and love the work that you folks do. So that's me. Suraya, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you've mentioned, my name is Suraya. Pronouns are she, her. I guess overall, I'm a complete food enthusiast. Growing up, I've always been taught to have a true respect for food. So no throwing food, no eating contests, no wasting what's on your plate. It's just sort of been ingrained in me forever.
Mhm.
My first trip overseas was at the age of 4, and we went to Kenya, where my mom was born. I've been really fortunate to have visited over 20 countries since then, many of which are underdeveloped. So to see poverty so closely, starting from such a young age, has absolutely inspired my studies and, of course, my choice of industry. So my graduate research was about global food security and sustainable food production. I did my exploratory qualitative research with a marginalized tribal community in rural Tamil Nadu in southern India. So my focus was obviously at the international level, and now I'm working at the local level and learning a lot. I also sit on the board at the Weekend Food Basket Society of Alberta in a few capacities, which is brand new to me, but it's also another amazing organization. So I think overall, I have an honest love and respect for both food and community, and definitely feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, so in Leftovers, can you tell us like a little bit about what Leftovers is and what you do there now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Leftovers Foundation is one of Canada's largest tech-enabled food rescue charities. So we work with volunteers, with donors, and service agencies across the prairies to rescue and redirect food in an effort to reduce food waste and increase access. So we're just a small team of 9 with operations in Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Airdrie, and Hinton currently. We're hoping to expand to a couple more cities at the beginning of 2023 and hopefully many more in the future. So our city leads in each city coordinate routes that our amazing volunteers pick up using our app. So basically pickups would be from grocery stores, from farmers markets, bakeries, other small businesses, and then our volunteers drop them off at different social service agencies throughout our communities.
Oh,
So yeah, um, so I guess for my role with Leftovers, I've had a few different roles since I started in June 2021. I was originally hired as the Home Harvest Coordinator. The Home Harvest Program is our backyard fruit and vegetable rescue program. So that was a lot of fun, kind of over the summer months, a lot of learning, and yeah, it was pretty great. And then after that, I started kind of taking up, or just for a number of reasons, but it just happened that I ended up taking on some more kind of HR duties and administrative duties as well. So I became the coordinator of programs, people, and culture for a few months. But then in December of last year, I became the Leftovers Director of Operations. So now I oversee all of our programming. I work on expansion planning. I help with strategic planning, creating partnerships and developing relationships in the community, things like that.
wow. Okay, so it sounds like you've had a rich history at Leftovers. You've got a lot of experience from a wide range of activities and programs that you folks run. Um,
For sure, in such a short period of
uh,
time, not even at
2021.
2 years. It's great.
And so, what was the original idea and purpose behind the organization? How did Leftovers get started, as far as you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's obviously this all happened beyond or before my time with the organization. October 18th was actually our 10-year anniversary just this week. So it's been around for 10 years. So I guess the original idea and purpose, just kind of overall, was obviously rescue food, protect our environment, fight poverty, and then get people on board to create, a better food system together. So Lourdes Swan, she's our founder, and she was inspired to start the Leftovers Foundation after witnessing how much unsold bread a single bakery in Calgary had at closing time. So the bakery had a policy to donate food at the end of the day, as they intentionally baked more bread than was needed, because they said that people want to buy from a business that with full, aesthetically pleasing displays. So when she arrived at the end of the day to pick up the bread, she said there was about 200 pounds
Wow.
there. But that is so. She said it basically took up the entire front of the store. Like they were just blown away.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so most of this bread was dropped off at a drop-in center, and it was all used up by noon the following day. So this drop-in center serves 3,000 meals per day. So just, I guess overall, Lourdes was just completely shocked. There was so much good food going to waste when so many people desperately need it. So she created leftovers.
So, I mean, that totally makes sense. Like, I worked with the Calgary Food Bank, and I definitely saw like a lot of the food waste that we'd have there, and it was very disheartening to see all the bread that was like donated to us. We like are not allowed to give it away once it's past its best before date. It's one of the very few items that we're very, very strict on, and we would always have to throw away so much bread there. That's part of the reason that I really wanted to get involved with leftovers and find ways that we could prevent food waste in our community. I
Yeah,
got
like sympathize for sure. Like it's heartbreaking, honestly, to see how much.
also gonna just apologize in advance if you can hear like the cars going in the background.
Oh no, I can't hear it at all,
Oh,
actually.
okay, that's
It
great.
looks
It's
like
not
you're
very
enjoying
loud.
like nice weather.
Yeah, it's so nice. I'm sitting outside, soaking up some rays, enjoying the last bit of this lovely weather that we've been having in Calgary.
Sounds nice.
And so currently with leftovers, like how have you seen the organization grow? I was hoping like maybe we could talk a little bit about like the environmental side of things and what you do for the multiple pillars of in sustainability. Like for example, environmentally speaking, like how does your organization help to reduce the environmental impact of food systems? I feel like I just said environmental about 1,000 times.
So we absolutely wouldn't ever claim to be the solution in creating a more sustainable and equitable food system. In fact, we often use the term band-aid solution with what we do.
Mm.
Um, but that being said, I think that leftovers has made a dent in the world of food waste and rescue, but not just from a per pound perspective, but from an awareness perspective too. So it's just really important that we start thinking differently about food waste, particularly around climate change. When food goes into a landfill, it emits methane, a terrible pollutant, as we know. So we just need to start thinking about the entire food systems picture. So who has access to food, who doesn't, the types of food available in different communities. Yeah, what is it doing for the environment? How is it affecting climate change? And I think we can say the app itself helps to protect our environment by tracking food waste data, so that we can show people and they can see how much the impact or what the impact is, and like even for example just to show food producers these kinds of numbers, and then potentially they could use that data to restructure their policies. Like that's the hope, that we just get people realizing how much is wasted and what it means.
Yeah, that's fair. And like speaking of numbers, I think you have on your website it's over 300,000 pounds of greenhouse gases diverted from the atmosphere over the course of your guys' existence. That's pretty
Isn't
amazing.
that it is incredible, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that number for sure.
Oh my gosh,
But
that's
it took a lot of people to make that happen. So yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty exciting.
It's super exciting to see that these things are happening like right in our community.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And as far as like other objectives go for like social objectives, where does the rescued food go to and who do these organizations support?
For sure. So our programming benefits service agencies, by reducing their annual grocery bills, let's say, so they can redirect that funding into vital education and rehabilitation programs that help our communities. So we can provide the food delivery, and then they can focus on their own important programming. So service agencies would be places like shelters, safe houses, like youth emergency shelters. It could be, lower income seniors associations, or even community groups like Bear Clan Patrol, who provide security to the Aboriginal community. It's a pretty awesome organization. So yeah, a wide range of different agencies that we support.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And like you were saying, do you feel like it connects? This is an additional question. Do you feel like it like connects people in the work that you do? Like you were talking about like the home harvest program that you like originally were hired on with, where like people get together, as far as I know, people get together and like collect and harvest the crops and get a
Yeah,
bit of it. Do you feel like that
yeah.
helps form a sense of like connectivity in our community?
Absolutely, absolutely. One example, there was actually it's just a bit of a sad story, but there was a gentleman, an older gentleman, who basically his garden was his life, and he ended up passing away. And so the daughter contacted us to see if we could help with the harvest of his beautiful, huge garden. So there were four of us who just went over. We just decided just to do it ourselves, and we harvested the entire garden. It all got delivered to George Spavey Society. They said that we should each take a little bit, just as a, as a gift.
Reward.
But yeah, but she called and just said, like, it was just so amazing, to know that this garden was taken care of, and that the food was all going just like to somewhere that where people would make use of it. And then they couldn't think of like a better way for them to handle, or for the garden to be handled. And then the other thing actually was that apparently the grandfather really loved CBC, and CBC actually came to interview us while we were there. So that was another. He said the fact that CBC was in his backyard would have also made him really happy.
Oh,
But yeah, it's a good story. But I think that we do a lot of things like that, like just definitely getting together with other people to do like the work, and then yeah, volunteer appreciation, and just talking to people in the community, and table, even when we do tabling and things like that, you just get to talk to so many people who are also like-minded, who are interested in participating. Yeah, it's definitely a community. We are all about like community mobilization and like creating community. So that's a huge part of why I love working with leftovers as well.
yeah, that's amazing. It's so much amazing work that you folks do with the community here. And like that program, like all of your programs is completely volunteer run, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. We rely 100% on our amazing volunteers.
How many volunteers do you have within your organization?
I think we have approximately like 415 active volunteers across
Wow.
all of our cities.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're so grateful for the work that they do, for their immense support of our organization, for the community that they've created in food rescue, like we were just talking about. Leftovers volunteers make an incredible impact. Yeah, and about back to community mobilization too. It's like I said, it's such an important part of leftovers. We're not nine people sitting around a table trying to figure out how to fix a broken food system. We're
Mhm.
every person, volunteer, donor, and service agency coming together to be a part of this food rescue movement. That's a partial quote from our from our founder.
Oh, that's awesome. I
It's
love it.
good.
Yeah. What kind of programs do you folks have? Like besides home harvest, like other, I know you're primarily focused on like rescuing food and delivering it to other organizations, but are there other programs that are run within leftovers?
So not currently. Our focus is rescue food. Um, Before COVID, I can actually, when we talk about COVID, I'm happy to just go into more detail about these. But we had kind of experimented. This is also before my time, but experimented with some kind of social ventures. So we tried to do a pay what you want model cafe and a pay what you want model market, like for fruits and vegetables. And then we also kind of attempted like an upcycling program. We also kind of did like emergency food delivery during COVID. So like we've been flexible and open and trying new things. But right now we are really just going to focus on food rescue, and focus on making that just get to grow. And then home harvest is basically the only other one, which is basically food rescue except for backyard fruit and vegetables. So it just includes the harvest.
Yeah, that's very amazing.
Yeah.
For people who are looking to volunteer and stuff, like what kind of volunteer roles are currently available?
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of things going on. So the biggest role is, of course, to use the app and pick up routes that are convenient for the volunteer and do the actual pickup and drop off. That's what the majority of our volunteers do. Um, when you finish the route, the volunteer will fill out a little bit of information on that same app that includes, like the time it took to complete the route, the weight of food delivered, things like that, just for our data. So they support us in that way as well. Then secondly, we're also hoping to sort of rebuild our executive volunteer committees in each city. So this would require, more commitment, more time, and sort of deeper work, if I can say it that way.
Yeah.
So the type of work that these executive volunteers would do would start with, a conversation with each individual to see how they can use their skills to support our programs. So in the past in Edmonton, our executive volunteers helped with newsletter writing, organizing sessions for our webinar series, helping with tabling, that kind of stuff. And then the other way that volunteers could help would be in our actual warehouses. We have a warehouse in Winnipeg that's really busy. We've got food coming in and going out almost every day. So people would be able to come and, help sort the food, organize the food, help with the distribution. Calgary does a distribution once a week, so it would be the same kind of thing, but just one day a week. And then Edmonton actually doesn't currently have a warehouse. So it would just be in those two cities for the time being, but things may change. But
How does
lots of opportunities to help.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just out of curiosity, how does Edmonton get around not having a warehouse? Like, is it a big deal to be able to store all of the food that you have there?
It's, I mean, we had a warehouse, but we weren't using it. We were able to completely run Edmonton just with the app and volunteers just doing the routes. So
Oh,
we actually got rid of the space. Um,
wow.
you I mean, it's all about like the volumes of food, right? So in Calgary we have a big donation that comes in every Thursday, and then we kind of send out Google forms so people can sign up um, to come to the distribution, or to come to the warehouse, sorry, just to pick up some food for their respective organizations. And then Winnipeg just has a lot of large scale donations, like from farming communities, and like, like boxes and boxes and boxes of potatoes that we like no one single volunteer could deliver.
Yeah.
So it has to get sorted and planning, like, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, hopefully as we grow, we can develop more relationships, and possibly, rent out a space to make it work for larger scale distribution in Edmonton as well.
That's fair. I mean, that sounds very exciting.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that happens. I think that if we want to grow, we got to do it in all ways. So
True, and warehouse space is probably a big one if you're dealing with a lot of fresh food.
yeah, absolutely.
So, currently, if someone was interested, how could they become a volunteer?
It is so easy. So all you have to do is download the Leftovers Rescue Food app. It's available on the App Store or on Google Play. There you can sign up for. That's all you have to do. You just sign up on the app. We'll send you like an introductory kind of volunteer manual and welcome. But from the app, you can sign up for available routes completely on your own schedule. These routes are coordinated by our city leads, who sort out all of the logistics. So they coordinate the times that work between, the donor and the agency. They try to pick up drop-off locations that aren't too far for the volunteer to travel. They make sure that the donation is going to a place that will actually make use of it. So if there's certain items that need to be prepared, we're making sure that this service agency has a commercial kitchen available for use, or making sure that where we're dropping it off, that the food is culturally appropriate. So the routes so they handle all of that stuff. And then the routes just get listed in the app, and then you just pick whatever's best for you.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like super awesome. I definitely know I have the app and I have volunteered here in Calgary a couple times and it is super easy to use. I love that it's like based on how far away you are from something that you can search that and then choose a route that's like convenient for you. So I'm not going all the way up north because I live down in the
Yeah,
yeah.
good. I'm so happy to hear that. That's really great. And we're always trying to improve our app to make things, easier. But I'm super happy to hear that it was accessible for you.
Oh, 100%.
Cool.
And in addition to your current work then, we've learned a little bit about your like your social objectives and your environmental work that you do. What do you think like right now are the biggest challenges and obstacles that you're facing as an organization?
Very good question. So, the biggest challenge I would say is that we have a waiting list of service agencies who need food, but not enough donors. Like we don't have enough food to actually service all of them. So one of our current goals right now is donor recruitment, so that we can have enough food to feed all the service agencies who continuously sign up. Like that list just keeps getting longer.
Mhm.
So that's our one of our biggest missions. And then secondly, of course, we always need more volunteers in whatever capacity that they can participate. We have a relatively high route completion rate, but unfortunately, we still have missed routes once in a while when volunteers aren't able to pick them up at the scheduled times. So it's unfortunate, that sometimes people don't receive the expected drop off. I mean, we make it clear that it's, not a guaranteed service because it's on a volunteer basis, but I would love to see more volunteers and 100% completion rate in all the cities.
Mm, what
Yeah,
happens if
that's important.
just out of
And
curiosity,
then, yeah, go ahead.
what happens if a volunteer is unable to complete and finish their route? What happens to the food?
It honestly, like, unless we can arrange somebody else to come do it,
Mhm.
sometimes our staff go and cover the route so that it doesn't get wasted. But unfortunately, sometimes it's just not out of our control, and it just gets wasted. Like nobody will pick it up from the donor, and so the donor just deals with it however they handle it.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry, you were listing some.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then another thing, this is a very obvious thing, and it's very often the case with nonprofits, of course, is funding.
Mm,
We have a lot of grants that we apply for that kind of keep us afloat, but we really need more funding, like through fundraisers or donations or whatever, to really help continue our current programming and to help us grow.
okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do you primarily get your funding from now? Is it from donors?
It's from grants is our main source right now, which is why we need to sort of supplement it with donations.
Okay, that makes, yeah, makes sense. And then moving to like into current work, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. How do you think the COVID-19 impact pandemic impacted leftovers and how did you guys adapt and how are you continuing to adapt?
For sure. So, firstly, during the first 2 months of lockdown, there was a huge amount of food rescued, particularly in Calgary. And I think that most of the spike was from one off donations from restaurants and institutions that were suddenly having to close. So we had a really big influx there. That was one of the impacts, I guess, of COVID. Um, then another one is that we got significant amounts of funding in 2020 in the first half of 2021, because there was just a big influx of federal government funding for food support programs. So Fresh Roots, it's an organization that used to be part of Leftovers. They do pop up like food markets in communities that don't have as much access to good food. So they started the COVID emergency delivery service, and then Leftovers took it over and called it Fresh Deliveries. But we ended up doing more than 2,900 deliveries in Calgary and Edmonton just in 2021. So it was going really well, but we eventually we ran out of money, I guess, to keep it going. But that was definitely like it was sort of, a reactive, how do we help in this kind of situation? So that's what we
Mhm.
kind of did. And
Yeah.
then thirdly, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I just said, yep.
Oh, um, thirdly, one of our social ventures called Kin, which I mentioned earlier, it was intended originally to be a pay what you want, like brick and mortar cafe in the Shaughnessy YMCA. But with the YMCA being closed, we had to sort of pivot and change the program, and then obviously, of course, delay it. So eventually ended up being a pop-up cafe and market.
Oh,
So we had to sort of adapt the program. Like if it wasn't for the closures, we probably would have attempted the pilot in the like as it was originally proposed.
yeah.
So we kind of did this pop-up pilot, and that finished at the end of July, also due to funding, more particularly. But I think overall, so those are kind of program specific answers. But I
Yeah.
think overall, most of the adaptation that we have had to do is shrinking our programming. um, and staff actually after the COVID funding surge ran out.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
was there an influx in funding during COVID-19?
yeah, for sure. That was the federal government put in a whole bunch of money for food support programs.
Oh
So
wow.
that's where we had the money to really like try to grow and expand and try new social ventures and things like that. But then yeah, the money quickly, yeah, the funding stopped
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
as it does.
Yeah, I know, right?
But so then, like looking back on COVID-19, it sounds like you've had to shrink a little bit, had to postpone or even cut a couple of the different programs. How do you see like leftovers going in the future? Do you think you will continue to grow and change in the next couple of years, and in what direction?
Yeah, for sure. So, firstly, we'd love to expand to more cities so that we can rescue more food, of course.
Hmm. How,
So, as I mentioned, we'll be expanding to two more cities in Alberta in early 2023, and then hoping to be exploring viability of moving into Saskatchewan in the next couple of years as well.
I don't think I
Um,
asked this, but what cities are you in currently?
yeah, we're in Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Hinton, and Airdrie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we actually launched in Fort McMurray a little while ago, but it didn't take off. So we're gonna be moving to two other cities somewhere in Alberta, and then move outside of the province.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So then, yeah, and then the other thing, we've had sort of a lot of turnover within the organization. We've been working really hard on changing our internal structure, collectively working on strategic planning. Like right now, we're actively creating or brainstorming themes that are important to all of us. And then as a group, we'll go through them and kind of prioritize which ones would actually be possible for the coming year. So yeah, that's something that we're working on figuring out how it's going to grow as a team, which is really exciting. And then finally, personally, I'd really like to see us develop our education programming, both internally and externally. Some ideas are, like a food justice blog. And I want to have big conversations by revamping our webinar series, just with the hopes of sparking, critical thought and inspiring people to take action. I'd really love to see that.
That's very amazing. And how long did the webinar series run for? Because you had one prior, right?
Yeah, we did. I don't remember how many we actually ended up doing, but the person who did the interviewing actually left our organization, so it's kind of
Oh,
yeah, it just stopped happening. But I'd like to make sure that it continues for sure. They were really exciting. I loved them.
looks like there's 7 episodes, and you can
Oh,
find
you
it.
found it! Awesome. There you go. Good to know.
Yeah, that sounds like a very exciting. That would be a really exciting one to bring back so that people can learn more about like just how much food is being wasted and ways that they can help and reduce it instead of feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Sorry, if there's there's a little bit of a delay. Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. Oh my gosh, me too. I'm sorry that I'm just kind of like, I'd like to interrupt. I have a question.
No, it's good.
What are your social and environmental objectives as an organization in the next couple of years, Soraya?
So I talked about some of the social ventures and side projects that we've kind of experimented with, which have been huge learning experiences for us, of course. But I think that we're really going to try to focus just on rescue food, make it larger in scale in more cities, make it grow in all ways so that we can make a bigger impact, both socially and environmentally. So I think that, yeah, just rather than venturing out to try all these, experiment with all these other projects, we're going to just really focus for the time being on just growing rescue food.
Yeah, that's fair. In like, do you mean in the cities that they're currently in or expanding to more cities or a little bit of both?
Both, for sure. We want to make it bigger, like for example, possibly getting a warehouse in Edmonton and doing larger scale donations and distributions. And then yeah, for sure, moving to other cities over the next while. Just to yeah, we should be everywhere.
Yeah, no, definitely. I 100% agree. You do such amazing work.
Thank you. It's everybody. It's a pretty great team for sure.
Pretty small team too. I think smaller than I thought it would be with only 9 actual staff in like 5 cities, you said?
Yeah, and then operations in Hinton or Airdrie are like very small, so it's
Mhm.
really the Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg where we're big, and then yeah, hopefully go to more cities and see how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's super exciting. And I'm very excited to like stay tuned and watch you folks as you grow and continue to observe your mission and follow along with it.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for your support. Awesome.
Lastly, and I don't know if you know the answer to that, but if someone wants to learn more about leftovers, where can they, or even just about food waste in general, do you have any suggestions where people can go to learn more about it?
Our website is pretty good right now. So it's rescuefood.ca. So there's lots of information about what we do and how to sign up and how you can help and all of that kind of stuff. And we also have, you can sign up for a newsletter that comes out once, I believe, every month. So that can keep you kind of informed on what's going on with leftovers as well. And then yeah, finally, these are some initiatives like to learn more about food waste, like you suggested. That's something that I really want to push for in the coming year, is have those resources available, and really,
Exactly.
work on that education piece for everybody.
And in the meantime, they can check out the wasted webinars if they haven't got enough of it.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, those ones that still exist.
And I just want to say, like, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today, Suraya. Do you have like any final thoughts or any final things you'd like to add about leftovers?
Sure. The Canadian food system is so wasteful. We
Mhm.
throw out a quarter of our fresh food and release about 21 million tons of greenhouse gases per year just in food waste. So I just think it's important for us to have these conversations, and share our knowledge, like all the way around, work together in community, and to just really rethink our food systems, inspire change, and then just build a sustainable future like all together. Yeah, that's my conclusion, I suppose. But Veronica's super happy to chat with you. Thank you for inviting me to do this podcast with you.
No, I'm so glad that you were able to like take the time out of your busy life and meet with me today. It's been like so interesting to learn more about leftovers and what you folks do. I honestly am just in awe to see these grassroots initiatives that exist in our own communities that are working towards a more sustainable and equitable future for everybody. So, like I said, I'm really, really excited to keep volunteering with you, learning more about leftovers and more about food waste and see where you go in the future.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll definitely keep in touch. This has been lots of fun.